Rules are a little relaxed. People are turning a blind eye to some things. It's even called the Amish Las Vegas. It started in the 1920s as a tourist camp, just a few houses. It's not far from a really beautiful Siesta Beach in Sarasota. And they continued coming from the 20s, 30s, 40s. And only in the last decade did it really start being like a thing. The series started as an assignment for a magazine. I was sent there for the weekend. I've never heard about Pinecraft before. It was one of those, love at first sight photography projects. And so I knew I'm gonna have to go back. So since then, I went back 4 times. Initially, I had a guide in the community. She was former Amish. She lived there for many years. She introduced me to the community. It's like I wasn't an outsider from the beginning. The town is really small. It's maybe 10 by 10 block, so you cannot go unnoticed. People come from all different communities, Mennonites and Amish. They're from different parts of the US. There are Lancaster Amish, there's Indiana Amish, there's Ohio Amish, Kentucky. Pinecraft is their favorite place because they get to interact with other people. They get to finally meet each other. And this is the only time of the year where everybody gets to mingle. Pinecraft is where a lot of young people meet and end up getting married. Group behavior is why I got into photography. I looked up every Amish image I could possibly find on the internet, and I saw that there are no pictures of groups. It's mostly portraits of older, bearded men, of children, older world idea of Amish, and I realized I just didn't want to repeat that. And when I came to Pinecraft, the group thing just came natural because everybody's in the street, where everybody's on golf carts and bicycles. So sometimes the town looks like that. It's like becomes, a metropolis, like an Amish metropolis. Every day around 2 o'clock, buses come in from Indiana and Ohio, which is how most people get into Pinecraft. So you have a big group of people gathering like half an hour before the buses, again, just to talk to each other, to greet people going on the bus, to say their goodbyes. And it's like the social hour of the day. You only see usual Amish portrayed in a very certain way, riding a buggy, wearing all black, men with beards and children sitting around the table. So when you go into Pinecraft and people are on the beach tanning and in the water and playing volleyball and they're wearing colorful dresses, they're wearing earrings, they're talking on cell phones. But it's a little complicated because there are different denominations of Amish and Mennonites, and every group has their own rules. And unless you actually come and you ask the person, what are you allowed to do, you're not gonna know that. And things are divided into ages and sexes. So for example, shuffleboard is played by usually older people, middle-aged people during the day. And then at night, young women and young men come to the park. This is the main event of the night. Young women gather to play volleyball, and the whole town gathers to look at the volleyball game. So this is Mennonite women, and you can actually see all of them are wearing patterned dresses and transparent headdresses. So this was the first ever women Mennonite game that I was lucky enough to photograph. It's a male sport, and so apparently the women rebelled and said, we want to play this as well. And their husbands were standing on the side and cheering them on. I think my whole project happened because I'm a woman in a way. I've heard another photographer coming in. He wouldn't be allowed to photograph women. He wouldn't be able to get close to them. I also think that maybe I wasn't taken as seriously as a photographer because I was a woman. People didn't think I'm a serious photographer, just a girl taking photos from New York. Photographing at the beach is actually the trickiest part of this whole thing. The beach, you take a bus and it's about 20 minutes out of town. So I had to go to the beach and then walk around and look for groups of Amish. And here was when I would get nervous approaching them because they don't know. I'm just a random photographer approaching them and asking them if I can photograph them on the beach. So this group of girls said yes. I was circling them for a while. We first talked for like an hour. They asked me about boys and about relationships and about the camera. And there were these boys next to them and they just kept glancing at one another. So the girls started asking me, well, how do you flirt with boys? Are there also Amish boys? You can't really tell because mostly boys, when they come there, they can dress any way they want. So you can see when these boys, you can't even tell that they're Amish, but they are. So the scenes that I'm photographing, I'm pretty close. And I was trying to shoot them as, tableaus, like painting, like a canvas where nobody's looking at the camera. One thing with the Amish about pictures, that it's okay for people to take pictures of them, but they don't want to pose. Like, they would say no to a portrait. So for me, it just worked well because I don't want anybody to pose. In general, on the surface, it's not the kind of subculture I would go for. I never photograph any religious subcultures. I've done bachelorette parties. I photographed inside clubs. So a lot of like sexual politics, a lot of gender issues. But then it dawned on me, everything I'm doing has to do with leisure. So you have a group of people who you associate in general just with work. But then it's like, of course, you take vacation. It's kind of like a simple idea, but that kind of brings them closer together into my worldview and makes it easier for me to connect and understand the subculture. Whereas I think if I went into their homes in Lancaster, we would have too much of a boundary. Most people with portraying Amish Mennonites are pretty serious. You don't see many Amish Mennonite people just like having a good time. So I was looking for those moments specifically where people were just like letting themselves go. It's almost like a Amish fantasy land where everybody's on vacation having a good time, but obviously the structure, the religious and the family structure still holds. You know, you see a lot of very young women with many kids. So you could see like a whole family with a man in the front, kind of the leader. And that's how, you know, I observed this group. And it was him and his numerous daughters. He was in control. I had to completely let go of the part of politics, religion, any disagreements. That's not important. And I only focused on where we come together, which is leisure and, you know, lighthearted moments and just basic humanity. Like for every picture, I wanted to know that if the people would see themselves, I would want them to like the picture, not see themselves in any light that they don't want to be seen. I have made 40 books. Now I just give them out as presents to people. And a few people said that they don't have cameras. They're not photographing what's happening in Pinecraft. So this is their only record that they get to take home of vacation. So in a way, this becomes their family album.